Welcome back to the morning show here on HRISE News. By virtue of its operations, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation controls the heartbeat of the nation's economy. It has done that for years, albeit to varying levels of satisfaction among Nigerians. But in the past week, the organization has had to fend off allegations that it played a part in the forceful eviction of thousands of people in the Lagos communities of Okunwayo and Tarkwa Bay. NNPC has washed its hands from the incident, but continues to emphasize that a lot of economic sabotage occurs in both communities. Key among these include oil bunkering, which appears to be on the increase since the federal government ordered the closure of the country's land borders. For NNPC's own story, we're now being joined by YEMI Adetunji, NNPC's Chief Operating Officer. He will also be telling us a lot about the downstream sector, availability and distribution of products, protection of pipelines and other facilities, as well as the need for regular interface with host communities, among other things. Welcome to the program. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. You're welcome. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yesterday we had two guests here. Megan Chapman, who is with a non-governmental organization that is interested in what is going on in terms of the evictions in parts of Atlas Cove, and then a gentleman called Mohammed Zana, who is resident in Tarkwa Bay, and who had a lot to say about the recent invasion of those communities by a combined team of the Nigerian Navy, Nigerian Ports Authority, and I guess NNPC officials, who said they wanted to evict these persons who were illegally occupying the area and were responsible for pipeline vandalism. But the two guests insisted that this was not a case of pipeline vandalism, that in fact, the Tarkwa Bay community, there is no pipeline running through
the whole community,
the entire community. And that this is a case of collective punishment, abuse of human rights, forceful eviction.
Land grabbing.
In fact, it was so emotional that the gentleman started weeping on set. And we thought, well, why would NNPC and Nigerian Navy and Ports Authority be so cruel to these innocent people coming to weep on television?
Sporadic shootings.
What is the exact story? And why is NNPC and the Nigerian Navy interested in these communities?
Thank you very much. The NNPC, like we know, is responsible for energy security for the country. And it's very important that we do this bearing in mind security of lives and properties for all Nigerians. We've been losing lives. We lose souls every year. System 2B alone, which is from Atlas Cove to Mosimi, to Ibadan, to Ilorin, about 400 kilometers of pipeline. On that line segment, we lose about 50 souls every year on the average. Last year, we came down about 10 souls last year. But there is a particular issue with that Atlas Cove Mosimi pipeline. It's 75 kilometers. The island is about 13 kilometers, stretch. The people who occupy around that area, you mentioned Tarkwa Bay around Atlas Cove, they build on the right of way. That is a fact. That has been established over and over again. And over the years, government security agencies have helped to clear the right of way. As recent as last year, between April and June, we engaged sappers, the Nigerian Army Corps of Engineers, to clear the right of way along that stretch. Still, we continue to have incursions on our pipelines. There are breakages, there are vandalism every day on that line. People also use that segment to also take products out of the country. They actually dig the pipelines and they collect wells. They build wells there, right on the pipelines. And from those wells, they come to collect, petroleum products and take it out of the country or even in country in some cases. The losses along that pipeline in 2017 was about 27 billion naira, and in 2018 was about 41 billion naira of product loss in that segment. It's unfortunate that this had to happen, but we need to also ensure that we clear the right of way which has been established by law. The Nigerian Navy and other security agencies actually came together after a series of engagement with the communities after a series of pleas and discussions, and it was important that this had to be done now. It's unfortunate, like I said, there are over 328 houses there and about 1,388 shanties that were, taken out. Those lands, those people were occupying those places illegally. I mean, that's a fact. And the NPA, which has custody of the land we're talking about in Tarkwa Bay, has come out to say, look, this belongs to NPA. And those people were occupying those lands illegally. So NNPC, the government agencies were acting also in national interest to ensure that we do manage this and ensure that there are no debts and we continue to supply energy to Nigerians.
So according to NATI, the Nigerian Extractive Transparency Initiative, this kind of pipeline vandalism costs Nigeria $12 billion a day, $12 million a day. So this is a lot of money. It's a nationwide problem. Why is it only Tarkwa Bay that's been evicted, or are we to expect more evictions across the country?
Well, like I said, I mean, regularly NNPC conducts screening of the right-of-way. Right-of-way should be about 25 meters from the pipeline, where the pipeline traverses all over. So 25 meters, between both sides of the pipeline. We do that regularly. We've done that also along System 2E, which is Port Harcourt, Aba, Enugu. We've done that. So we do that on a regular basis. People legally build. And we make sure that we engage the state governments, we engage local governments, we engage communities as well on a regular basis. We try to deter them from building, but again, they continue to do so. And we also, as much as possible, to ensure that we prevent loss of lives and properties, on a regular basis, we have to conduct this. So it's something that we also appeal to Nigerians to be law-abiding, to look for land where they are free to build on them. Most of these people that build on land right out of the way, they actually have the petroleum products as their focus, as their target, to extract and to steal petroleum products.
I don't think that's a fair statement to make. I'll be very honest with you. Communities, people in thousands, had lived on Tarkwa Bay for generations that had passed, right? Now, as soon as I heard the news, the first thing that I did was call someone who lived at Tarkwa Bay, Mr. Joshua. And I said to Mr. Joshua, what is happening? I don't know, but I have nowhere to go with my family. They came a couple weeks ago because some people here vandalized the pipeline. And they said if it happens again, they're going to come and wipe us all out. Over the weekend, I think a pipeline was vandalized and they've come with the Navy shooting everywhere and they're wiping us all out. Are we a jungle? That's jungle justice. It doesn't work that way. That's not how we go about moving a community. People are displaced with nowhere to go, no homes, families, mothers have lost their children in this move because their children went to school that day and they were forced onto boats and they couldn't get back to their children. So I don't think it's as simple as looking at the laws that apply and saying that, you know what, we're going to go about this in this way. You said it yourself. The pipeline is 75 kilometers along. Tarkwa Bay is 13 kilometers long. So how on earth do we then say we're going to affect an entire community like this? Is that the way to go about it? So my question is, does the NNPC have any plans to help the people that have been displaced by this horrible situation?
Thank you again. It's unfortunate, like I said, I was in Barua last year, December 6th actually, the incident December 5 last year. And we lost 2 souls, 2 Nigerian souls, were lost that day. When I went there on the following day, December 6, 2019, where the incident happened and the community was less than 10 meters. And in the course of my visit to that place, we met the Community Development Association chairman, and he did confirm that people come and build on those areas, that they have had as community association, they've had to engage many people, they've had to fight them as a community. Don't do this, this is not right. But these people insisted. When the fire happened, luckily, it did not spread that much. So we didn't lose as many houses as we lost, the last one that happened in Okeodo about 2 weeks ago. Yes, Tarkwa Bay, there are people there. Even as we speak, from the records that we got, There are over 500 houses that are still standing in Tarkwa Bay as of today. So Tarkwa Bay was all wiped away. Those with legitimate titles, right, also are still living there. But there was some enumeration done, by government security agencies before this action was taken. And if you see the pictures and the videos that we have, every household that were affected were virtually, I call them sort of depots of sorts. There were jerry cans all over the place. And this again has been established over and over again. Former NNPC GMDs, ministers have gone to those places.
But the government have never provided them with electricity. These people have literally provided their communities with their own electricity from the very beginning. That's why these things happen.
And the other thing that has been established by the government security agencies is that many of the people there are also, they are not Nigerians, right? How they got there in the first place, is still being unraveled. We see boats coming in every now and then, carrying all these petroleum products, illegal tappings. These boats are called Kutonu canoes, and they can take as many as 2,500 jerry cans. This is a huge infrastructure. This is a big business, and they are ferrying this in all across the borders to Benin Republic, across the West African nation. Those are people that we're talking about. We're not talking about Nigerians that have the legitimate means and are able to live in those communities. No, we're talking of those who are there to cause havoc and to make NNPC and Nigeria lose millions of dollars on a regular basis. Money which can be spent, for useful social infrastructure for the country.
12 million a day. Wow.
Let me ask you, see, protecting the right of way is just one response, except that this has resulted in maybe evictions and protecting the pipelines. But we have cases of pipeline vandalism all the time. In September 2019 alone, one report states that there were about 186 vandalized points along this Atlas Cove Mosimi point. That reduced in October 2019 to maybe about 35. And the report I read was jubilating. The author was jubilating. But the truth of the matter is that it's not just oil that is stolen, finished product that is stolen. We've had cases of pipeline explosion. The victims are actually the ordinary people themselves. But what I understand is that, look, there must be the use of technology to monitor the pipelines. There must be some other sophisticated means of protecting these pipelines. So is the NNPC thinking of any advanced best practice, strategy for checking pipeline vandalism?
Thank you very much. Yes, we are, to answer your question directly, sir. In we have a program, that have been laid out now, which we are rolling out, in tandem. In 2017, again, this System 2B, which is very noted for a lot of vandalism. Yeah, we have other pipeline segments, and to put records straight. But System 2B has been particularly bad. And especially, like I said, Atlas Cove Mosimi, Ibadan, Lori, which are even longer in terms of distances, don't record so much issues. But talking about technology, yes, we have a program which are rolling out, like I said. In 2017, we had to tackle the issue with Arepo. It was also a very a flashpoint, right? Arepo, we had to build a 3 kilometer of pipeline. We had to bury it deep, about 25 meters deep. 25 meters is about 8-story building. So you can imagine 8-story building deep. We had to do that. In 2018, we also did about 1.8 kilometers in a place called Ijeododo. That has helped to dampen the incidents of pipe vandalism in those areas. And we are taking the same technology to other areas. It's quite expensive. It's about 4 times what we normally would have spent if we did, what we call a deep bury, burying about 1 meter, 2, 3, 4, 5 meters, underground.
If I may interrupt you, we'll need to take a short break. When we return, you can continue with this strategy for checking a pipeline vandalism.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break now. We'll be right back. It's still The Morning Show here on HRISE News. Welcome back to The Morning Show here on the HRISE News channel. Still with us in our Lagos studio is Engineer YEMI Adetunji, Chief Operating Officer of the NNPC Nigeria here in Lagos. Now, before we went on that break, we were talking about the strategy for checking pipeline vandalism. You were talking about the deployment of technology.
Okay. So the HDD, like I mentioned, which is horizontal directional drilling, will go as deep as 25 meters, underground, to ensure that there is a less likelihood of people breaching the lines. This year, we plan to do about 11 kilometers along the system 2B, about 4 different segments. That's in the plan. And we're also looking at use of drones, as much as we can to ensure that there is regular overfly along those areas and see what's going on. Then a response team. Response team typically has government security agencies and also community guards. Those are all in place. And we also, as much as possible, apart from the technology which we were doing, which is look for areas, apart from ADD, we're also looking at some technology that will also encase the line in some wire mesh, which will also protect them with some materials which are very hard to penetrate. So all those are in place. NNPC has about 5,000 kilometers of petroleum products pipeline. I will start with the vulnerable areas and then go to other areas. Like I said, it's not all segments that are bad. Some are particularly prone to attacks, and those ones we'll start with first and then take them in that sequence.
Thank you. Well, having explained the technological approach that you're taking, I want to take you back to the human factor. Can you tell us what you're doing with regards to community engagement and also allegations of collusion between some of these cartels and the security agencies that are meant to protect these oil and gas installations?
Yes, we are aware that there may be some collusion, even with NNPC staff. The GMD and the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources are determined that even those NNPC staff that are involved, once they are caught, they are going to face the full wrath of the law. Government security agencies, again, we're also engaging at the highest level of government. I wish the government security agencies would speak, but there also have been some disciplinary action taken against some of them in the last couple of months that I'm aware of. And we continue to do this. We have support from like I said, from the presidency to ensure that we do tamper this. Nobody wants to have loss of lives and properties. I mean, that is the stance of government. We are doing everything possible, community relations. Lagos State government, we are engaging them as well on this particular incident in Lagos State. We've had a session with the Commissioner for Energy Lagos State. The GMD and the Lagos State Governor are in constant touch. We are planning to have even some engagements further, especially on the back of all of this, to see what more we can do in terms of community engagement. We need to bring in also people. But discipline and rooting out corruption and bad eggs in GSAs, government security agencies, NNPC and us is a continuous effort that we're going to take, and we're taking them right now.
Thank you, sir. And still on the human factor, I mean, we're speaking about cases of industrial theft here regardless. But like I said before, I didn't think you answered the second leg of my question. Is the NNPC going to do anything to help the victims of this situation that are now homeless, the children that are now out of school, the thousands that are displaced? Is the NNPC planning on doing anything to help the situation?
Well, NNPC's stance, it may sound hard, is that, when this happens and we look at the facts of the matter, we typically, on the first step, we'll say, look, is it a case of accident, or is it a case of willful damage, losing to loss of lives and properties? And we're advised by our legal team and the Corporate Affairs Department on basically what kind of response to take. That's good. But when it's a case of willful damage and resulting in loss of lives and properties, typically we don't want to send a wrong message, to be honest. We'll also appeal to Nigerians to ensure that they do take due care of government assets. These are government assets which have been for all Nigerians, which have been destroyed, vandalized, and taken advantage of by few criminal elements, are amongst us.
Well, let's talk about the refineries. You are in charge of the downstream, and this is about fuel supply, fuel distribution. And one of the major highlights of the proposed plan by the Mele Kyari administration in NNPC is that by 2021, you will manage to get our refineries working at optimal level. What is happening? 2021 is just a matter of months away, and we seem not to have seen any kind of improvement in terms of the status of the existing refineries. I mean, between July and October, there was even a drop in petrol distribution. I think NNPC said by about 570 million liters. Could that have been as a result of the poor state of the refineries? But could you give us an insight into what is being done with those refineries?
So thank you very much. The drop we saw was as a result of the border closure. We noticed about 6 million liters per day drop in terms of consumption of petroleum products in Nigeria, due principally to activities around the border closure and also better cooperation and synergy between government, NNPC, and the government agencies. Going back to the refinery area, the plan by NNPC is that by 2023, we'll try and get the refineries back on stream. And the sequence is to start with Port Harcourt Refinery. We've done a study to look at Port Harcourt Refinery. That study report has been completed. It has been considered. And the next stage is to get an EPC contractor to go in there and start to refurbish the Port Harcourt Refinery. Port Harcourt Refinery, like you know, is about 210,000 barrels per day refinery. Two refineries, 150 and 60,000 barrels per day. So that's the first one to be attended to. And we're also looking at the pipeline that supplies crude oil to that refinery and the pipeline that evacuates products from the refinery. So our target is that within 24 months, starting Q2 this year, we should be able to then get Port Harcourt Refinery back on stream. The next one will be Warri Refinery and also then Kaduna Refinery, where the plans are in high gear. The study for Warri Refinery also will start this quarter, and then we'll then take on Kaduna Refinery thereafter. So that's the sequence of activities, and we hope that we'll be able to deliver on this to Nigerians this time around.
Great. Do you have a similar sequence with regards to another issue that's high on NNPC's agenda now, which is the purifying of raw natural gas? Do you have a similar roadmap you can share with us?
You mean the Nigeria LNG?
Yes.
So the Nigeria LNG program, like you know, we took FID for Train 7 end of last year. And that's going to also, it's a 4-year program to deliver the new Train 7. So that is very much in place. We're also looking at various pipeline projects, you know, to bring natural gas into Nigeria, into the domestic sector. So the Escravos pipeline phase 2 will be commissioned in Q2, Q3 this year. The OB pipeline will also be commissioned. The Escravos Lagos pipeline phase 2 program will bring in about another 2 billion standard cubic feet of gas per day, you know, to Nigeria, and that will again help us with the thermal plants, you know, which sometimes have been starved of adequate power, you know, for generation. So the power sector is a major one, and also the Kaduna Kano pipeline as well. Sorry, Ajakuta Kaduna Kano pipeline also. We've taken also the EPC for that. We found financing for that, and we're also going to start off this year. We're going to put all that. So gas is a major focus area for Nigeria. Again, it's a cleaner energy, and we are going to do everything we can to ensure that we bring gas, you know, to Nigerians. The AKK will also, there are 3 power plants, you know, along that segment. Abuja, in Kano, and Kaduna. Those also will come, you know, as we build those pipelines in place. And we have interested investors, you know, who are lined up, you know, for this. So we believe that once we have the AKK in place, the EPS2, the OB3 gas, you know, production and availability for domestic use will be heightened. LNG, like you know, is mainly for the export market.
Okay, and what plans does the NNPC also have for other projects like Bonga Southwest and Zaba Zaba, for example?
So again, the whole sector for upstream, midstream gas and downstream is ongoing. We are in touch with the Shell and the other partners for Bonga Southwest, on that, and very soon we'll be coming out, to the public to tell them the next steps and the achievements we made in the area and when those projects, will be rolled out.
How much can we expect those projects to increase our crude oil production by? Well,
I think Bonga Southwest is north of 200,000 barrels per day,
wow.
Production. So those are all coming, on stream, very, shortly. So the program is that every sector of the industry, we've taken a special focus on them and taking them, a step at a time, to bring them into fruition.
Well, let me take you back to the issue of refineries. I mean, when you were speaking earlier on, somebody sent me a WhatsApp message, which I checked. And the person was saying that, well, why should NNPC even bother anyway about fixing the refineries? Because one, those refineries that we have at the moment, they are obsolete. Two, the government has no reputation for maintaining any state asset efficiently. And that has been the story of Nigeria's refineries. And, why not just maybe sell off those refineries? And why do we even have to bother? Since, Dangote refinery is coming on stream, and there is this high hope that once the Dangote refinery is in place, the problem of, supply would be fully solved, and we'll have more than enough. What do you think?
Well, I mean, yes, some people are of the opinion that government should not be in business. But again, if you look globally, government is in business and is not in business in some cases.
Maybe we should take another short break. And then when we return, because I know many Nigerians would like to hear about the place of the Dangote refinery in the mix that we expect. We'll be right back. It's still the morning show here on HRISE News.
Welcome back to the morning show here on HRISE News. Still with us in our Lagos studio right here is Mr. YEMI Adetunji, NNPC's Chief Operating Officer of the downstream sector. He's also, he's here to tell us a lot about the downstream sector. We've covered a lot so far, the Tarkwa Bay evictions, etc. We've been speaking about what's going on with the refineries. And, sir, you were on a point when we had to go on a commercial break, so go ahead.
Thank you. So, in terms of the refinery and the role of government fixing the refinery, we believe that there is a strong need, for that to go on, government to fix those refineries, and then we then look at the other plans, thereafter, how to take down the assets. The plan, like I said, is in place. We're planning to start off Q2 this year for Port Harcourt refinery as the first instance. Local production will then, be ramped up. We're also looking at condensate refineries, looking at condensate and using them to build refineries in the country. That's gives us another 10 million liters per day, based on those 4 or 5 condensate refineries that we're also working on with various partners, various companies in that. The coming of Dangote refinery certainly will be a welcome event, in the country. In the sense that it will also improve the availability of petroleum products. And we also know that the refineries that are in Nigeria should serve not just Nigeria, but the West African market, at the first instance. And if you also recall, the Port Harcourt refinery, when it was built, was really an export refinery. It was both local and export. Part of it was to be exported out of the country. And we believe that with increasing the bottlenecking, expansion of capacity, we can take care of our local needs and also export to West Africa. So the combination of NNPC refineries and Dangote refineries should help us with self-sufficiency in country, and also be able to then export legitimately to West Africa. Like we are aware, many of some of the products in Nigeria until the border closure were actually going out of the country, West Africa, even as far as Sudan, we hear in some cases. So there's a market, for having refineries NNPC and Dangote to coexist and satisfy national demand as well as demand of the West Africa and even other parts of Africa. So that is the position of NNPC, and we are supporting Dangote refinery as well. About 3 months ago, the GMD and some of these chief operating officers were at the refinery, with the Dangote president to see the refineries, and we are in discussion on a regular basis with Dangote refinery on the project.
Thank you. So now let's talk about the petroleum industry bill. And the Minister for State, Timipre Silva, has said, I don't want to use the word promised, that it will be passed before May 29th to mark the anniversary of the Buhari administration. Let's talk about what that portends for the industry, and something I'm particularly excited by. I still am, Dr. Abati. Compressed natural gas and the whole idea of 95 to 97 naira at, pump price. Yes, pump price. And you tried to dampen my enthusiasm. But I think it's great. I think it's so good.
Can we
talk about that?
Was making a policy statement, or he was just expressing an opinion?
It's going to happen, Dr. Abati.
It will happen.
I hope so.
Yes.
Can we talk about
Yes, compressed natural gas is also a means of transportation, for fuel transportation globally. And in Nigeria, it has been around for some time. I mean, in some parts of Edo State, NNPC in joint venture with some companies have been doing compressed natural gas. We even have some facility there to convert for conversion from PMS or diesel to CNG for those vehicles. And as of today, virtually, or I would say most of Dangote trucks, actually running on CNG. So we have that in place. And the pronouncement by the Honourable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources is that we need to also look for alternative energy sources, fuel for transportation, and not depend 100% on PMS. And again, with that coming, that will also dampen the impact of PMS in terms of the amount government is paying to ensure that PMS comes at 97 naira per liter, to 145 naira per liter, to the Nigerians. So there is, again, a plan being worked out on that, on the CNG usage in the country. We want to ensure that as many vehicles as we can are able to run on CNG, have workshops for conversion, from the other fuels into CNG in the country. So I think that's the pronouncement made by the Honourable Minister for Petroleum Resources, and that's something that we are also working on. We will have coexisting the retail stations, CNG pumps, where vehicles can go there, motors can go there, fill up, and then continue their journey.
Do you have a timeline yet?
The plan is being worked out. I think very soon we'll be able to give Nigerians a proper timeline that we commit to, and we'll then be able to stand by that timeline.
That's actually very exciting, because what I was going to ask you was in relation to that, because Saudi Aramco, for example, just put a $5 billion investment towards alternative energy, solar in particular, because they're looking to diversify for a potential world where oil or petrol is economically unviable. So I was going to say, is the NNPC, or does the NNPC have similar plans? But Saudi Arabia actually also have a $28 billion fund for alternative energy. Do we have an existing fund like this that we can build up in capacity, or does the NNPC have any plans to develop a fund like this for alternative energy?
So NNPC has the division called Renewable Energy Division, and the mandate of that division is to do what's similar to what Saudi Arabia and other countries are doing in terms of alternative energies. We're also looking seriously in terms of solar. We are looking seriously in terms of biofuels. We are looking seriously in terms of wind energy as well. So solar, wind, and biofuels are some of the areas of focus, for this division. And again, very soon we'll be unveiling, the plan, of that division, and give, step by step, how many megawatts of energy will be coming, from each of those dimensions, of alternative fuels, the sources that I mentioned, early. So we will, again, be coming up with that to Nigeria and tell Nigerians exactly when to expect, to get this. As much as possible, the agenda of the GMD, Mr. Miliam Kolokiari, is around TAPE. TAPE meaning transparency, accountability, performance, excellence. So whenever we make a statement or a commitment, we stick by that commitment. And that's why, we are cautious in terms of what we say, but with very serious focus on trying to ensure that we do have a game changer and be able to deliver the expectation of Nigeria as to the NNPC role and mandate for petroleum sector in Nigeria.
Well, one big issue in the downstream sector where you operate from is the deregulation of the downstream sector, as some people will call it. Some people will talk about the subsidy regime. And they argue that the existing subsidy regime that we have is not sustainable. They insist that there is no subsidy on diesel, there is no subsidy on kerosene. Why should it be PMS, that should be subsidized? As someone, who is a key player in the industry from the government side and in charge of downstream, what are the realities that you have seen? And do you think that we're likely to have a situation anytime soon, before 2023 perhaps, whereby government may consider removing subsidy?
I think the government policy as of today is that we continue to have petroleum PMS sold at 145 naira per liter at the pump. We are continually looking at ways and means to ensure that we are able to achieve that with minimal impact on the revenue profile of the country. And which also includes having our own refineries in place. And with refineries in place, the multiplier effect in petrochemicals and coal would be great. The options are on, and that's why also like the Minister of State for Petroleum is looking at CNG, alternative fuels. The policy is that we believe that as the economy grows and as the purchasing power of Nigerians and prosperity grows in the country, all those issues around affordability, around petroleum product pricing will be managed, very well. Yes, AGO, diesel, and also DPK have been more or less deregulated. Those have been bought. PMS is the last one, you may say, and then that also is a subject for discussion regularly. And we're looking at options and ways, to ensure that at some point in time, this will also be a deregulated product.
At some point in time.
Smuggling is another issue. And the government says, okay, the closure of the border has helped us considerably to check smuggling. The government also decided that fuel stations within 20 kilometers to our borders should be shut down. Neighboring countries are hoping that by the end of this month, following the discussions, with our neighbors, that would, open the borders. And the president himself has said what has been done is really a temporary measure. Do you think, as an insider, that there is anything in place in terms of strategy that would, long term, show us the benefit of this recent border closure and put an end to smuggling of petroleum products?
Yes. We have one of the key programs we have in NNPC and the downstream industry, working with DPR, PF, PPRA, is the automation of the industry. Just like the technology needs to be deployed effectively into this industry. So right from the time when vessels come to deliver petroleum products, the depots, we move products across pipelines, across tankers, trucks, and even all those. So there is a process called, technology called geofencing, where we can track trucks, and we can know whether trucks are leaving the borders of Nigeria. And before they leave, with the geofencing technology, we know exactly, we can pinpoint where they are. With a control center, we've seen the Saudi Aramco control center, command and control center, where they can see, like I say, every drop of fuel in the country. With that technology and with collaboration of government security agencies at the borders, and also around the country, we'll be able to ensure that we minimize petroleum product smuggling across the borders. Now, because the price disparity...
Note, unfortunately, we don't have so much time left. But we thank you very much.
Thank
the last
you very
45
much,
minutes
so
with
much.
you has been very,
Insightful.
very engaging.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.